Hi. So I promised a group that I would show you how to, or teach you how I do recipe pages. My name is Debbie Buchanan, and I have been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for 20 years. I'll be 21 in March. And I started doing this with my customers probably 12, 15 years ago. And have quite the collection of recipes. So how I do this is I search the recipes, or the gals that come to the class, they offer recipes to be put in books and things. And so I kind of, what I do is I look for recipes that are like all casseroles or all cakes or all salads, and I try and keep that on the page. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have pages that have different things. Like I've done pages that have complete meals from appetizer to dessert and everything in between for special occasions. And so it just kind of depends. So this is how I teach my scrapbook recipe page. And I hope you take away a few tips that might help you too. So this is what I am teaching for January. I thought I would just show you this one. It's simple casseroles, and my husband actually made the potato sausage casserole, and oh, it's delicious. Of course, sometimes we tweak a few things and things like that, but for the most part. And where do I find my recipes? Well, the internet has tons, also from friends, family. I've shared many of my own recipes, and personal family and friends and things like that make it into the book. But I always put their names and stuff in there. So this is the page I'm teaching this month. But before I get to this, I want to show you a book. So it's this book actually does come from Stampin' Up! As well, and you can use any kind of binder you want to. Does not matter. It doesn't matter the size. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I chose this size. It's nice. It's portable if I want to, and it just works for us. And so this is what we do. It's a 6x9. The pages are actually 6x9, and so what I do is I always create a cover page, and that would be the first page here, like you see. This is one of many. This is one of my favorites too. I just think it's cute, and besides, I love the Good Eats show. I love that show. Elton is just too much fun. So that's kind of where the Good Eats came from on my cover page. But you can do your cover pages. Say you're doing recipe books for your a family member. You could put the family member's photo on the front of the book and be cute, and then to add, embellishments and things like that. So when you turn your first page, you see that it's a full spread. It's a double spread that both sides match. I know you don't have to be matchy-matchy if you don't want to, but I enjoy a double page spread. And so these are just a couple of samples for you to kind of take a look at. These are all egg recipes, and this Farmer Strata and Quiche Lorraine are my personal favorites. I have made them for years, and my family loves them. And this Fiesta egg casserole came from a friend, and so these are just some fun examples. Super simple. I try and get 4 recipes on a page. Now, saying that, here we have 6, but these are small dips, and so these are dips that you would bake or keep hot while you serve them. Good stuff, yummy things, and cookie bars. So 4 or 5, however many recipes that you can get on a page is fun. This obviously was done in Valentine's Day last year, I think, Valentine's time, and so cookies and cookies with crackers. You make a cookie out of cracker. Let's see, no, that's not the one. I took the chips made. The candy bars. Yes. Oh my gosh, that one is good. Wow. So now here's a complete breakfast for Christmas. It has my breakfast strata, and then my mom's banana bread, and then a friend of mine's fruit salad that she brings to everything, which is great. She's also one of my customers too. So here's a Christmas breakfast page that I've shared. So anyway, you get the idea. You know, we have a double page spread with lots of ideas, and these are all campfire things that you would make around a campfire, a hobo dinner, and foil packets and things like that. These are all hot tea drinks and mixes. So this is super fun. Chinese cooking. Oh, here's Christmas cookies. So you get the idea. So I have quite a few. This one doesn't have a cover page. I've got to get to that, but I have quite a few books with lots of fun recipes. So this is an idea for you, this page right here. If you don't have rubber stamps or stickers or things like that that match what your theme is, like this one, I didn't have a chili pepper, and this is all recipes that have green chilies in them. And so I went out on the internet and I hunt and pecked for free JPEG or free clip art, and I was able to just print off some clip art off of my computer onto my printer and then cut them out and add them in, and who'd have known the difference had I not told you. I also print on cardstock. I think that makes a huge difference in, one, the quality, and two, the stability of what you're printing off the computer. So here's you know, a few more ideas for you just to give you a show. So let's get busy. Let me show you this. Okay. So the book, the binder, and these are the pocket pages. They're protectors. I have used these in the past. I tend not to use them because it only has one solid sheet in it, and I tend to like these page protectors in my book, the solid ones, better than the ones that are divided. And I can show you a divided page just so you have a close-up of it. I believe I have one in here, or two in here. Yeah, right here. So do you see how this page is divided right here? So you have to cut your cardstock down to fit in there. Well, this is all great and dandy, and it's cute. There's nothing wrong with it. I love it. But you also have to keep in mind your page layout on the flip side. So you have that to be divided as well. So it takes a little more thought, whereas if you have just two full pages that are blank, you can slip them in, and then you don't have to worry about the back side because it's a flat side again. So, or a full cover again. So you definitely want page protectors on your recipes, because if you're going to have this in the kitchen, you know it's going to get dirty and messy. Spills happen no matter how careful you are. And so let me get back to this great page for you. It can go this way, which looks pretty fantastic. I designed it this way, but wow, I like it this way better. Yeah, I have an idea that I can save. Okay, so we're gonna try it this way. So to get started, we're going to do the background. Now what I've done is taken plain white cardstock, and I cut it down to fit my page protectors, which is 6 by 8. And so I've done that, and then I'm going to use the light blue ink, and you can use a sponge, or if I can find a sponge here. So the thing with sponges, this is kind of important. Actually, I'll just get out my blending brush. I'll just use a blending brush. Okay, so you can use a sponge, but let me tell you about a sponge anyway. If I could find my sponges, I could give you that lesson. Here we go. Okay, sponges. I don't know about you, but I have quite the collection of sponges that have ink on it. And so what I do is I take the real nice round sponges and I cut them in fourths. And then 1/4 of a sponge becomes this. This is a little tag that has the color of ink that this sponge is in. So the reason why I like to keep sponges in the same color of ink only is because if I took this dark brown and say went into a pale yellow color of ink, the dark brown residue from this sponge is going to get into my yellow ink, causing my yellow ink to become dirty and dingy. So I keep sponges separate colors for each color. Now, that being said, the new blending brushes that are out on the market right now, you do not have to have a brush for every color. And why is that? Well, because if you have a microfiber cloth near you, once you're finished in the color that you're working in, your microfiber cloth you use to take off the excess ink. Now, this is going to become stained with the color that you have used, but it's not going to transfer when you clean it with your microfiber cloth. Okay? So there's a couple of tips for you. And I'm just putting a light blue hue, actually balmy blue is the ink color. This is a water-based ink. It will wash out. You want to be careful with wet anything around it because it can ruin it and run it. So you want to be careful with that. Okay, so I think I have this pretty well inked up the way I want it, maybe. So I've got a little bit of blue ink on here. Okay, then I'm gonna take, if I can get my box open. My hands seem to be just a tad stiff this morning. So now I'm going to stamp off, because I don't want this to be super dark, but I'm gonna add some polka dots that kind of look like snow, kind of. It's a representation of snow on here. There. Now, by me stamping multiple times before re-inking, that actually has a name. It is called first generation, so I'll show you. So if I stamp, and I'll just do it on my blotter here, first generation, second generation, third generation, so on and so forth. First generation is, of course, the darkest color of ink that you will have stamped, and then it decreases as you stamp more times. Okay? So, all right, I'm gonna move this aside for a second and use some scrap white cardstock and this amazing tree stamp in early espresso. Yes, early in the morning, everyone needs espresso to get us going, right? Okay, so I've inked this tree up and I'm going to stamp it on this scrap white cardstock. Lots of pressure because this is a very large block with a large image, so you want to make sure you get nice good pressure and then lift. Okay, so we have that one stamped, and then moving back to my page, I want to do another one. So I'm going to show you, I have two trees. I have the one that I've cut out, and then I have this one here. And so I'm going to do that background tree. Now, because I have done a few of these pages here in the last couple of days, I kind of already know where this is going to go. But if this is your first shot, I would highly recommend, once you have your recipes printed out on your cardstock, and I always use cardstock. Don't use paper, just use a nice cardstock. You will be so much more happier with the way it turns out. Your adhesives will not show through on cardstock like it does typing paper. Your adhesive sometimes ripples your paper unless you're using a good one that has little water in it. So cardstock for the quality of work. Now, that being said, if you have a handwritten recipe from a loved one that is on typing paper, you can carefully put that in your book. Or you could also make a copy of that on cardstock and put that in your book. So you have a couple of options on how to finish your, to preserve your handwritten recipes. And I highly recommend you doing that. I had a slew of them. Now, this was years and years ago, before I even gave it a thought that it might be important to save handwritten recipes from my family. And I went through on the computer and I just made a cheap old PDF file or whatever, and just typed them all up and slipped them in page protectors, typed. I threw away those original recipes. Oh, I totally regret that now because I wish I would have had those handwritten recipes back. Okay, so there's a tip for you. It's better to preserve the handwritten ones than it is to retype and toss them. Okay, so I have my second tree there. Now I've moved my first one I've stamped. Oh, here we go. All right, so I'm going to cut this out. I do have some tips for cutting out. How many of you love to fussy cut? I know 99.9% of you do not. I get that. Hence the reason why personal cutters were created, right? I tend to enjoy fussy cutting. It's not bad for me. I don't like it on everything, and I'm only doing one. So there's another reason why I don't mind it. If I'm going to do this for mass production, I would avoid fussy cutting, that's for sure. But one's not bad. Okay, so I am going to cut this out for you as quickly as possible. Okay, so here are my tips for fussy cutting. Whether you are right-handed or left-handed, it does not matter. 1. 2. Hold your paper in your less dominant hand and move your paper to the scissors. So do you see how I am twisting and turning my paper? And my scissors are staying pretty much in one spot. Now I do move my scissors a little bit, but not very much. You have much more control if you move your paper than if you move your scissors. Okay, this is also kindergarten lesson 101 in cutting. My kindergarten teacher, who taught us all how to use scissors, said move your paper, not your scissors. Okay, so that will help you. Now also another thing for cutting out is leave a quarter of an inch. Leave about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch. Do you see I've got a little bit of paper extending past these limbs? Don't try and cut right out on the line. It is very frustrating for most to have that perfect cut on the line, 1. And 2, it's a lot more forgiving if you have that bit of a border around what you're cutting. It also helps it to pop off the page. Now, it's not the answer for every application, but for most applications on scrapbooking and card making and paper crafts in general, leaving a touch of paper around your image is what you will enjoy seeing, I believe, more than the mistakes in cutting past the lines. I know we all don't color in the lines, and that's fine. And you don't have to cut in the lines either, so how's that? Just cut to the outside of the lines. Okay, so that was quite the definition on cutting and what looks good and how to do it. Hey, if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section, and as time permits, I will be happy to answer your questions, okay? All right, so let's see here. We're gonna get this almost done. Yeah, and I'm gonna go all the way down the trunk and get this all cut out. I don't know. And so for you who don't want to listen to me babble, you can just like totally fast forward through this part, because yeah, that's a lot of parts to sit here and watch. Okay, so there we go. So we have a tree cut out. Okay, all right, so let's finish this up. I use a paper cutter, paper trimmer. I love my paper trimmer. And I trim all of the recipes down real close. And so I watch where my cutting line is and where the words end. Also, after I close my arm, stabilizing arm, I watch here that I don't have any writing past where I'm going to cut. See, so I have about 1/4 of an inch of border. You can do that or do it a little more. So yeah, just a hair. Just need a touch more off of that. So to be able to get the most recipes on a page, I generally cut my recipes really close to the writing, to the typing. Okay, so there's a twofold thing there for that. I also do that for scrapbooking. So when I'm scrapbooking photos, I tend to cut my photos and borders and things like that down, because I want to get the most photos I can on my page. Okay, so why is that? Because I'm a lazy scrapbooker and I want to get it done. That's the whole reason right there. I'm a lazy scrapbooker and I want to get her done. And I want my photos to be the focal, not the embellishment and the artwork and all the things that go with it. Okay, so there is a, for this page, especially this page, there is something I want to show you. I needed open area on my recipe, and as you notice, well, this one has a little, but those two have none, because I want to place my tree right about there. Okay, so I need a little opened space, and I also need to make sure that my tree is not going to cover my writing to where I couldn't read how to make the recipe. So I love the Tombow liquid multi-glue. This has latex in it, and having latex in it gives it the ability to bend and move. When you open a page, especially on those big 12 by 12 scrapbook pages, when you open a page, they bend and move. You know, and if it was, you will notice a lot of times with glue sticks or even with the tape runners, they tend to pop off because they don't have that little bit of give on the page. And so I like the Tombow multi-glued for that reason. Now, I'm sure there's other adhesives out there that have latex in it, but that's something that you might want to check into and double check to make sure that that is so. Okay, so I'm going to put these first two recipes down on the page. Okay, like so. Okay, now before I move on, I have a little more stamping to do. And with Night and Navy ink, And I have some snowflakes here. Oh, here they are. I have some snowflakes here that I want to stamp. And so after I have my recipes on here, you can see that I've kind of covered up some of my snow, which it's okay because I will fill in a little bit with these darker snowflakes. How fun are those? Cute, huh? That down and out of the way. And I am doing it here because you can see there is a small margin right here that some of that ink is going to show through, and you're going to see those snowflakes in the background, which is uber cuteness. So we're going to do it like that too. Oh, we got to have some up here. And then I can go back in with a little bit of lighter if I want to and fill in those spots with the second and third generation. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'm super happy with the way that turned out. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue down the rest of the recipes. Now, my printer tends to warp my cardstock. So I bought a laser printer, and it is not the best choice for the application that I use it for. Love the printer, does a beautiful job, but not the best application for this. That's okay. So I'm going to trim this just a little so it looks a little more uniform with the rest of the tree branches. I left a little bit too much paper right there, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay. All of my supplies come from Stampin' Up. If you're wondering, hey, where do you get that glue? Where do you get the papers? Where do you get the inks and all that stuff? Everything I use comes from Stampin' Up, obviously, because I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator, okay? I'm not here to plug or sell. I just want you to know where I get it. All right, so I need to glue this down. Now I'm gonna make a bit of a mess. That's okay. That's part of the craft, right? Okay, so first I'm gonna do this side first and get my tree trunk as low as I can and over as far as I can because I don't want to miss any bit of my tree. Okay, so get that down. And then to cut my excess off, I'm going to flip my paper over. And I can see where, by that line right there, where I need to cut. Right like so. Okay? So then I'm going to take my parts, maybe, get that one out of the way. I'm going to line my pages up next to each other. Make sure they're lined up at the top and the bottom nicely. Okay. And then I'm going to go back through and place what I snipped off on the other side of the page. And I may have to add some more adhesive to this, and that's totally fine. As I didn't get it on every end of every branch, and that's not a problem because you remember this is going to go into a page protector, so it's going to hold it in place for the most part. Okay, so I've got that in, and then this piece, not too. I cut this piece off. I don't know where I cut it off of. It must have been from up above somehow. This wasn't there. Wait a minute. I think I got this in the wrong spot. Now I won't be able to get it up. Okay, so one thing about the Tombow glue too, I'm kind of glad this happened so I can show you. You can manipulate it a little because it's wet, so you can move things around a little. Yeah, I put this in the wrong spot. That fits right there perfectly. Yeah, with a ninny hammer. Okay, and then this one, I'm going to add a touch more adhesive since I've been holding it and goofing with it. And it goes here. Yeah, I got the wrong limb on the wrong limb. There we go. And it's okay. This one limb is hanging over the word chicken a tad, but that's no problem. Now, I've got this hangovers up here. See how it hanging over? Same thing. Turn your paper over and just snip it off. Okay, so it doesn't hang over and hang out of your page. It can get caught on things and ripped, and all the things can happen to it. So you don't want that to happen. And then if you want to, you can go ahead and, again, like I said, go back and add a little more adhesive to those places that may not be quite as adhered as you'd like them to be. Okay, so how great is that? I'm going to use a bit of scrap paper on the birdhouse here in cherry cobbler ink. Okay, so we're going to pick up the ink. I'm going to stamp the birdhouse and the birds. I'm not going to use the birds for this design, but I am going to just cut this out, and I'll cut the birds out, or off, not out. I'm not going to cut them out. That's just entirely too much, too little. Gonna just cut this birdhouse out like so, and then, oops, yeah, pretty cute little birdhouse. All right, now I'm gonna give it a little lift by adding a dimensional to it. And so these little teeny weeny mini dimensionals are awesome, I must say. So just going to add one of those, and then I'm going to hang it in the tree where I think it would look the best. It also just gives it a pop of color too. So there you have it. Scrapbook page, all done for recipes. You can do this. It's super simple. This is a winter page, obviously. It will date by season when I made this page, which is kind of nice because soups are great for winter. And you can also sign your name to it or date it, you know, or in your cover page you can also write notes, pretty notes, and your name and the date that you created it, and, you know, all the meanings that go into your recipe book. So I hope this was helpful for you. Let me show you one more thing. How do I put this together in my book? Okay, so this is my most current book that I'm filling. All right, let me get this out of the way for a second. Okay, so because I do a, oh, I lost my page. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. On the floor. It flew on the floor. Because I do a double layout. Okay, here's a couple. Last month's was soups. Christmas cookies again. Quick Christmas cookies. Okay, I have a blank page here. So on my blank page, I just slip the next page in like so. Okay, and then I slip into a new page the other side, being careful not to catch all those little pieces. Okay, open my book up, slip that in, and it's ready to go. Now, when your book is all completely done, so here's a couple of other ideas I have thought about. I have not done it because why? It would be, you know, way too easy to do something like that. But what you could do is create an index. And so you could start on your first page, and you could, if there was a title, if you did a title, let's say, you know, soups, just for example. Actually, these are, I don't know what these are, appetizers maybe, yeah. You could do a title or a category, and then list ranch bacon or ranch chicken roll-ups and Italian meatball hoagie braids, and then on your next one, on your next page, you could put desserts, or I think these were one bowl desserts, or mix them up in one bowl, and then you know, so you could go through and make an index. Now, you could do the index in the front, or you could do the index in the back, whichever. You could also create a page of recipes on the back of this, and you can stop your book however you want to do that. So this is my layout for our January classes, and I hope that the tips that I've shared in the lesson has helped you, and you gain a little more education, a little more confidence. Just try it. If you're not sure at first on how to do it, you're afraid of ruining things, practice on scrap stuff. Use your typing paper to practice cutting, and practice gluing, and practice your layout. And once you have your layout done, then print everything on your good expensive cardstock and background papers and things, and just have fun with it. Enjoy the process. That's the main thing. Having fun, enjoying the process, making this relaxing and fun for yourself, and not a stressful thing. If it's too stressful, don't do it. Work is stress, not crafting. Okay. I appreciate you guys watching through, and I appreciate any comments and feedback that you have. I'd love to hear from you. Need any questions answered, just comment at the bottom of the post in the Facebook post that I did. And I hope this is legal, that I'm not going to get in trouble with this, but I did promise that I would share a video on how I did it. So good luck to you, and hope to hear from you soon. You guys take care of yourselves, and sending you hugs through the internet waves. Bye.